we jump into today's video, I want to remind you all to check out my Patreon for exclusive ASMR content, my ASMR podcast, and more. For just $3 a month on Patreon, you get 3 or more videos a month. Now you may be wondering, Haley, Patreon is not available in my country, or perhaps I really don't want to have to switch apps. You can now click the join button next to the subscribe button, and you can become a channel member for $3 a month, and you will get access to the same 3 videos that the people on Patreon get. Please do keep in mind that the Hi, I'm Haley podcast is only on Patreon. Thank you. Consider becoming a BFF today. You won't regret it. The links are in the description box below. Now let's get into it. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my ASMR channel. Today, I am so excited. I am feeling pretty rejuvenated going into September. I'm having a positive mindset. Happy Virgo season to any of my Virgo babies out there. I love y'all. So I'm going into September happy because August, though I did have a great month, I was sick for a good 3 weeks of the month, so that wasn't very fun, and I haven't been sick in such a long time like that. I'm just so glad to be back in better health and feeling myself again. So without further ado, happy Virgo season, happy September. The one positive about being sick throughout most of August was that I got to do a lot of reading, and I actually have been in such a romance mood this month. I don't think I read a single thing that isn't a contemporary romance. Like, I am just on a kick right now. So, yeah. But I read 12 books, which doubles what I read last month, and I just had a good time. I don't care if I read one book or if I read like 30, as long as I have some 5-star reads, and I feel like it's been a minute since I've had this many, so that's what I want to start with today. We have my 3 5-star reads of the month. These are romance books that, oh my gosh, I am obsessed with, and if you like romance, you need to go read them, okay? All 3 of them are available on Kindle Unlimited. If you got a Kindle, if you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, you can read all of these for free. They're so good. I do not recommend bad shits, okay? They're good. I'll tell you about each book that I read, whatever. A little bit of the tropes. You know the drill. It's a reading wrap-up. I do them every month. Let's get into it. Okay, first book. Again, one of the 3 5-star new favorite romances. It is Reckless by Miss Elsie Silver. This is the 4th book in the Chestnut Springs series. It's a series of interconnected standalones, so you can read any of them at any time, but it's best if you just like read them all in order, because, you know, chronologically. But I have been reading them out of order. I'm not even gonna lie. This is the 4th book, so now I have read 1st, 2nd, and 4th, and I am currently in September going to be reading Powerless, which is the 3rd. Anyway, I've been reading them out of order, and issues, like understanding everything that's going on. But yeah, so I skipped Powerless and went straight into Reckless because this, as you might be able to tell by the cover, which has this bigger cowgirl boot, and then this little tiny baby boot. This is a pregnancy secret baby trope romance, and I knew that going into it, and I don't know what is going on with me. I think I'm ovulating. That's my like excuse, I guess, but I have just been on a kick for hot dad romance. I said it in other videos and I'll say it again. So I just really wanted to read this book, so I skipped ahead so I could read it, and it did not disappoint. 5 stars, 5 immaculate stars. This follows Theo and Winter. Theo is a bull rider. At the beginning of the series, you see him as this young, like, hotshot bull rider who's a womanizer and a player. And Red is like training him. Red's kind of like his mentor, I guess. And now it's been many years later. Theo meets Winter. Winter is Summer's sister from the first book, and Winter is kind of like a villain in Summer's book. Like, you kind of get that vibe, and she's a bitch. From one bitch to another bitch. I'll let her know. Me and Winter are like this, okay? She's a bitch. She gets overstimulated. She gets cranky. She gets angry. This is reverse Grumpy Sunshine, which I think is becoming one of my favorite romance tropes. I love a mean, grumpy woman. I love a woman that's not afraid to be stern and rude and cranky, because everyone is sometimes, you know? And I love a man that is just like obsessed with her no matter what. It's not really pregnancy trope. It is surprise baby, because you do not get to see Winter's pregnancy. You see like their one night stand, and then you see later after she has the baby's a newborn, and she tells Theo, you know, whatever. So it's like surprise baby, I guess, but one night stand. And I know those tropes aren't everyone's favorite, but give it a shot because Theo is so worth it, okay? If you like acts of service, if that's your love language, if you like reassurance, and if you like reverse Grumpy Sunshine, like, oh, Cade, Eaton, and Theo, oh my god, what the fuck, Silva, Theo Silva and Cade Eaton, legendary. But honestly, I think this might be my favorite book in the series. I think it's my favorite book in the series. I was giggling, I was kicking my feet. 5 stars, I'll shut up. I've been going on for way too long about it. Yeah, if you haven't read the Chestnut Spring series, I'll definitely keep talking about them because there's 2 more books I need to read. But read them. Okay, the next 5-star book. Oh, you guys, this is actually going to be my book club my book club pick for September. So come and read it with the book club in the Discord below. It is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. Out on a limb. Out on a limb. And if you can't tell, our main character, Bo, has a prosthetic leg. And then Wynn is our heroine, and she actually has, like something with her hand. So they both connect on that. This is another pregnancy romance. Sorry guys, I'm really going through a phase right now. I promise I'm not pregnant. Whereas Reckless is more secret baby, this is pregnancy trope. You get the best of both worlds. You got like the pregnancy book, and then you got the we're raising a baby book. Both immaculate. Oh, Bo is so hot. I don't know if it's just because I envisioned him as a younger Justin Bieber lookalike, but oh, like the sandy dark hair, and he's super this one will be for you. I asked in a previous video for basketball sports romances, and I'm still taking requests. So if you know of any more, let me know. But so many of you mentioned The Right Move by Liz Tom Ford, and I had read Mile High, which is like the first book in, again, a series of interconnected standalones. The first book in the series, Mile High, is Sanders and Stevie, and this is Ryan is Stevie's brother, and Indy is Stevie's best friend. So it's best friend's brother, it's sports romance, and it's roommates, so it's like forced proximity. And basically, Indy needs a place to stay. She's coming out of a huge breakup with her boyfriend. Like, they were together for like 7 years or something, like really long, and he cheated on her, so she's going through it, and she's like, I need a place to stay. And her best friend's like, my brother, Ryan is, again, very, I don't know if it even mentions his sign, but he really does give me that like earth sign energy, like a Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, super work focused, and so he's like one of the best in the NBA, and he's just so focused on work. He's always traveling and training, so he's just like never home, and he's super clean, and he doesn't have guests. And so she's like, oh my gosh, you can stay with my brother, it'll be perfect. At first they think they're not going to get along because they're so different. It definitely is like grumpy sunshine, like he's grumpy, she's definitely like more bubbly, but honestly she just melts him like instantly. He falls first, he falls harder, he is a simp. I would do anything for Ryan Shay. Okay, like, oh, just read it, it's so good. Even if you did not particularly like the first book, this one is so much better. Technically, I still have about 20% of this to finish because it is kind of long, but I'm gonna finish it like in the first week of September, so I'm including it now because I already know and I just want to talk about it. So again, I'm working on moving my annotations from my Kindle, but this is gonna be full of them. I am obsessed. So yeah, those are my 5 stars of the month. Ryan, Theo, and Bo can run a train on me any day, and I'm not afraid to put that on the internet because I stand by it. Okay, and Win, Winter, and Indy are the most relatable heroines ever. I love all of them. These are my babies. From now on, I'm gonna go chronologically, so the ratings will be random. Okay, so after that, I continued a series that I started last month, which is the Bonds That Tie series by Jay Burry. So in August, I managed to read book number 2, Savage Bonds, and book number 3, definitely my favorite cover in the series, Blood Bonds, and my favorite book in the series so far as well, so slide. Yeah, this is a why choose? So it's one girl and then she has like 5 guys. It's like a fantasy dystopian romance series, and the writing is absolutely fucking terrible. And honestly, like, when I was sick, there was no fucking way that I was gonna be pulling out, you know, like literary fiction with the gorgeous prose that I have to like dissect and like look up words, you know. I'm all for that. I love a beautifully written book, but I had a head cold, and so I was having headaches, and I was on cold meds like NyQuil, and so I just wanted something easy, breezy, and fun, and this fit the bill. So yeah, I'm gonna continue the series, but I might need a little bit of a break from it, just because it's starting to get repetitive, and I think it's just too long. Like, so much of it could be cut, so much of it is just like filler. So I don't know. If you've finished the series, let me know if I should continue and read book 4. Like, give me motivation, I guess, to continue it. book series about these three sisters and their lives, literally growing up as kind of nepotism babies that turn into celebrities, and their romances and the drama, and it kind of gives like a little bit of like Gossip Girl energy, but it's heavy on the romance. And yeah, this is like, I don't even know, book 5 or something. We're like in the middle of the series. This is Thrive. So, like, last month or a month, I don't know when, I read Hot House Flower earlier this year, and after Hot House Flower, which I loved, I was so excited to jump into this book. This book, we're back in Lily and Lo's perspective, because the books jump around different perspectives, and Lily and Lo are, like, I just love them so much. They were my first favorite couple, and I was really excited to be back in their heads. But this book is basically like a recap novel, and I didn't know that going into it. So it just basically went over everything from the previous 2 books, Hot House Flower and Kiss the Sky, but just like from their perspective. So I already knew everything that was gonna happen in this book, but you just get some bonus scenes, and like you get to see like what maybe they were thinking. But like, it's like 460 pages. I do not think we needed a nearly 500-page recap. So, although I enjoyed it, and I love this series, and I love Krista and Becca Ritchie, and I love Lily and Lo, I cannot give this anything higher than like a 3.75. Like, because it just, I don't even think it was really necessary. It's just nice if you like love the characters, so I enjoyed it. But okay, yeah, I'm gonna be continuing this series for sure. It's just like, it's gonna take me a while. I am not one of those girlies that can like binge a 10-book series in 2 weeks. It's not me. I wish it was so badly. But yeah, so for books like the Addicted series and the Throne of Glass series, which I know people have asked about, I'm gonna keep reading the long series that I am currently reading. I love them, but it takes me a little bit longer. I can't like fly through it that easy. As you can tell though, I've been reading like no fantasy, so I'll have to be back in my fantasy mood before I touch Throne of Glass again. But anyway, okay, after that, I read, I guess I should say I DNF'd. Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. This is a dark romance, and I really wanted to kind of get more into my dark romance bag this month, because I think I want to really get into it for like September, October, November, for like spooky season. So this one, I've heard it's a dark romance, but it focused a lot more on like the healing, and so I was like, okay, maybe it's like a good place to kind of like start working my way that way. And so many people love this book, and if you love this and this is like your fave, totally respect that. I can see why. I don't think the writing was bad. It wasn't like anything amazing, but like the writing was averagely good. But for me, I had to DNF this, and I just could not fucking do it, because I just hated with a capital H, hated our main characters. So, this book is about Cora and Dean. Dean is actually engaged, I think, question mark, engaged to Cora's sister. So it's like sister's fiance. Not a trope I love. Cora's out one night and she's drinking and she needs a ride, and no one else is answering, so she calls Dean. And her and Dean like don't really get along. For years they've had this like tension. But Dean comes and he's like, fine, I'll pick you up, whatever. And when he comes to pick Cora up, she's kind of being bothered by this creepy fucking guy. Like, he sees that this guy is like kind of like rest of the book is kind of like the aftermath of what happens. So yeah, it's wild. Definitely check trigger warnings. I didn't like them at all, together, apart, separately. Like, I literally hated them more than I hated the serial killer in this book, which is like not what should be happening. Like, you should make me want to root for your characters, but they were just fucking unlikable and I didn't like them. So yeah, I DNF'd this at like, I think the 60% mark or something. A book, however, that was for me, that I actually really enjoyed, is Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. This cover, y'all, this is such a gorgeous cover. I love the flowers and his tattoos and the man. Girl dinner. This book, Forever Publishing was so kind enough to send me an arc a few months back. I talked about it. I finally finished it this month. It is now out. It's been released. Go read it. This is Julie Soto's debut, and I originally discovered it because Allie Hazelwood blurbed it, and I really like Allie Hazelwood's books. So if you also like Allie Hazelwood, I think you'll like this. This is a second chance romance between Elliot and Amma. They both work in the wedding industry. Elliot is a florist and Amma is just like a wedding planner. And they had like a thing in the past, and it's dual timeline, so you get to see the past and then the present. And then like years later, they end up working on a wedding together. And yeah, y'all, I don't normally like wedding-centered romances, but because this is like not their wedding, I feel like it was a very unique take on it, and the conversations about marriage and commitment, I loved them. I just think this was such a fresh take on a romance, and I think the ending is fucking perfect. I love how realistic it was, and yeah, it's just good and swoony. And oh, I love a tall man with tattoos who's grumpy and mean, but for his job, he puts together little flowers and makes them look pretty. Something about that. I told y'all, I'm ovulating. It was great. I gave it a 4 stars. Okay, the last physical book that I have to share with you is A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner. This is a chunk. Like, this is a thick ass book. Let me see how many pages this is. Something ridiculous. 581 pages. So this is like technically a book and novella, fifth anniversary edition. So it's a bind up of A Love Letter to Whiskey and Love Whiskey, which is the novella, and it's the same story. It's just A Love Letter to Whiskey is her perspective and Love Whiskey is his perspective. I think you need to read both in order to get the full picture, so I'm just going to count it as one. And I think if you get it on Kindle, it's all in one, so read both, though. I liked this. This is a, like, how do you even describe this? It's a toxic romance. It follows our two main characters, Jamie and I don't even remember her name. Like, she was literally she had no personality, no character traits. She was so boring. I don't even remember her name. We'll call her Girl. It's between Jamie and Girl. And one day in like high school, Jamie and Girl run into each other when they're like on the track or something, and Jamie ends up dating Girl's best friend, and then they break up, and then they end up at the same college, and then like is the like main thing in their relationship. It's very toxic, it's very unhealthy, but you just literally see them over years and years and years. But yeah, I love drama and I love a good toxic romance every once in a while. I gave this a 3.5 stars, so yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun, but I think it was a bit too long, and I think like I didn't really root for them. Like I didn't really think that they should have been together by the end, but I had a good time. So I really actually did like Candy Steiner's writing. This was my first book that I ever read by her, and I definitely am interested in reading more. The rest of the books I read either on my Kindle or I listened to on audio. So we'll just do some Kindle tapping while I talk about them. The first one is another J. Bree book. This is Just Drop Out. After reading the Bonds That Tie books 2 and 3, I was like, okay, like I still want something easy breezy, but I was like, maybe I should try something else from the same author. And this series is like a new adult, maybe it was actually high school, I actually don't remember. It was something stupid, like either very young new adult or YA. And it's about this like prestigious school, and I don't know, I remember it like it was supposed to be really angsty and like wild, the plot, but I think it just ended up feeling pretty like boring, and I just ended up going back to the Bonds That Ties here. I was like, never mind. I literally don't remember like much of anything about what happened, other than I know like the evil guy like at the school, like the big bad asshole was some guy named Joey, and like I don't care how scary he is, I don't think I could ever be intimidated by a grown man named Joey. So 2 stars. It was a quick read, nothing special. Okay, and then I read a mafia romance. I read this for a vlog that I did on my vlog channel, and it is The Predator by Runix. I am not like the most familiar with mafia romances. It's a new subgenre I'm exploring, but I feel like if you are also new to mafia as a genre, then I feel like this is a good mafia book to start with. So this follows 2 characters. One, I remember his name was like Tristan and her name was like Moriana. That's wrong, but it started with an M. They're kind of from like opposing mafia families. They just end up kind of, in a way, having to work together because something goes wrong. And even though they're normally enemies, they have this like mutual goal. And as they're like forced to work together, they kind of just like stare at each other longingly for 60% of the book, and then they eventually are like, wait, I like you. So it is like enemies to lovers. And yeah, it was like the plot was interesting and it was fun, and I did like Tristan like as a love interest. I really don't like when mafia books are about misogynistic and gross men. And Tristan in this book, he's like protected, he's like fighting for women and children of the mafia, and it's because I liked him, and I liked like it had so much potential, but I just felt like something was missing, and the writing style is a little bit like ridiculous. It's just pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of descriptions and narrations and not enough dialogue. But either way, it was short, and I had a good time, so 3 stars. But yeah, I feel like a good starter mafia book. I don't think I'm going to continue the series, but we'll see. Okay, mostly just focuses on their sex lives and her hookups. And her husband found it and started reading it. And so she started like subliminally writing things in the journal that she wanted her husband to do. He would read the journal, not realize that she knew he was reading it. And because like she noticed he would start doing the stuff that she would talk about. Anyway, yeah, if you've seen the show, in the show they fictionalize it and it's very, very, very different. It is tea, it is gossip, it is drama, it is juicy. Listening to this audiobook felt like I was on FaceTime with one of my girls and she was telling me about all of the questionable and sometimes problematic and wild hookups that she's had. And I'm sitting there listening and I'm just like, part of me is absolutely terrified for you and the other part of me is proud. And that's what it felt like. Based off pure enjoyment alone, I gave it 4 stars. But content wise and like writing wise, it's definitely very playful, the writing style, and it's supposed to be quite humorous, but it's intense. So if you are a nosy bitch who doesn't have friends, like doesn't have people to tell you drama and like crazy sex stories to, and you want to feel like you have a friend telling you crazy sex stories, that was me.